Find that out, she was 19. My goodness. 8 years versus 1 year. So it's like, we get diagnosed. Expectation.
All right, let's see. Yes. I can't see what I'm seeing. Just see what I will. So. I'm recording right now. Yeah, but I.
Not full belly Friday, Matt.
Thank you again, Chad, for the motion lunch. So today we have two presenters talking about art in our wonderful community, but I just want to start first with some introductions. You all know who you are in this room, and then I will introduce Pat and Amy. So I'm Jessica McCready. I'm the executive director of the Chamber. Nice to see all of you. And Cassie.
Yeah, I'm the membership coordinator, new title.
So that's cool.
It's very short. I'm Sam, new big, I need to involve.
And Terry Paulson, I'm the new Stanley Tomato rep for the Stanley Tomato News and also Stanley Publishing. I'm Hannah Gould, and I work with Scratch as the social media promoter. Tracy Stevens, I'm a real estate broker with Remax here on the island at Skinwood, and I'm also the Mayo Arts Association studio coordinator. Volunteer.
I'm Susan Coleman Thompson, I'm an artist on Mayo Island, and I'm on the studio tour. And I'm on the cover brochure this year. Oh, and we have brochures.
Anyone would like to?
Yeah.
I'm Anna Bregman, clinic director at Island Beach Sport Therapy right down at the steering corner. So if you need to get ready for the pickleball tournament.
Physical therapists love the ball.
I'm Becky Carlson, owner of Carlson Landscape. We're new to the island as of last summer. We're located up here from the east side. So happy to be up here. We've been working on that with clients, but would love to become better. Wonderful. Thank you for joining. Yeah.
Brandon Erickson, owner of Command Marketplace, and I'm president of the Chamber. I'm like, that's who we get there. And it was pretty fun. And the change.
I'm Terry, I have been Heritage Baker. Down.
Not Nancy, I'm also a Heritage Bay. I worked in Burlington, I'm a legal lender. I used to work at Stanwood for 17 years, so there's a lot of activities that I have a lot of time standing there. Good to be here.
I'm Melanie Stroll, today, and I'm. Yeah, watercolor art. Working for them. You're done.
I was here for Heritage School.
If you can get off the island and see for the next 2 or 3 months are isolated. And then maybe
Love you. I am Tammy McGraw. I provide voiceover for businesses. And my husband is vice president of the handbook. So, oh, yeah.
I'm Calvin Walker, I'm a hospice in the Northwest, and I'm age 40.
And hospitals are funded in.
Yeah, we're going to number in that we see island status.
I'm Lee Wiley, I'm the owner of Stanley Heavy.
I'm the oldest kid, I'm very better.
Get that over.
I'm Tanya McPhail, I have Stanley Green, I like UFC. Having the loosen of the links, you get triads and hearing aids, get lunch and bunch of balls.
Say that one more. You get to do what?
You get triads and hearing aids, I'll get lunch and a bunch of balls.
I'm Cassie Moore, Executive Director at Concord, the Animal Shelter.
I'm Bonnie Eckley, I'm the executive director of the community center and also on the. All right, thank you, everyone. At the end, we may have some time. Oh, you're good. You're great. At the end, we may have some time to talk about any upcoming events or initiatives, so have that in your head if you want to talk about or spring that market or that kind of stuff. Make sure everybody is to know. So I'm going to introduce Pat, kind of keep it together. That worked great. Okay. Pat Olson is the executive director of the Stanwood Tomato Art Advocacy Commission. And she will be calling in SCAC because who has that kind of time. She spends all day immersed in the details of the art nonprofit run and leads the arts creation part of it. Currently focused on SCAC's Mobile Art Center. It will be parked in front of the Future Art Center, an old furniture store in West Stanwood, or the CAA studio tour. So come and say hi, and I'm sure you're gonna talk about some of the Mac stuff. Awesome. Amy Bush is in this order, mom to 13-year-old guy, owner of Royal Smith. One word, small batch production line of jewelry, and you haven't seen her jewelry, it's gorgeous. And the current president of CAA's board of directors. Interesting about these three positions is that none of them require a resume. What does that tell you? She's really good at making stuff up as she does. So, I'd like to, do you want to come on up? Yeah. Thank you for having us. We're gonna kind of take about the conversation. Maybe that is what we want to talk about. But talking at you, but with you.
You're blind now.
Why do we do that?
Well. Art, because it's what I know about,
There we go.
and something that you are very much engaged in. And when we're in my so we actually did practice this conversation, we talked about what some of the conference should be. So we really are having a conversation with each other. So, why are we
We're gonna answer them with these points.
sure?
It's gonna go great, guys.
So, why are, as far as my part of the conversation is that President of the Art Association, which took on the annual for about. But this year, in for a year, is going to be really different. because, we have gotten the lease to the Camino Gateway Building, which is the red, result of the visitors, information center. Almost 25 years ago. And so the difference is that CAA will be visible this year, not just the two. And also, right on the seal will be the visibility of the staff. And so why we're just got to be a lot more visible, and we want to do along with us.
And I think, and as we talk about these different points, I think there's also, in communities in general, the idea that, banking is for bankers and chiropractic are for chiropractors and artists for artists. And it's just not true. We all use banks all the time. We all create things. And then also the ability to use those mechanisms, especially in a town, as its identity and how that affects. Example. Draws in visitors from elsewhere. So, okay, great, we've got a little bit of a tourism thing happening. Weekends, but what does that mean for your individual businesses? Does it mean that you're gonna have art on your walls that people can come and see it? Maybe, maybe not. It may mean that your restaurant will be here, so you need to hire a couple extra people so that you're ready for when the business comes. So it's not just about knowing, like, oh, I like this artist and I like this artwork. It's about knowing the ebb and flow of commerce as it happens. So that you can be a more effective business owner, even if your profession isn't. It's also pretty likely creative. We've had lots of conversations about the difference between creativity and art. You want to dive in?
Okay, so,
Creative.
right here, that's right here,
Right here.
down here, the level is here and coming here.
And the now is now. I mean, like you said, you have the presence. Our Mac will be ready in time for building the art center in the furniture store in West Stanwood. So it is becoming more of a tangible element than maybe it had. And further to that studio tour, I mean, those studios don't come in, pop up, and leave it and leave. I mean, those studios are also here all year long. Part of the gallery and Stanwood House are open all the time.
Also, we want you to be able to, not just ride on the coattails of what the emotion already, but be a part of it. Because myself and Joan Tramick very successfully wrote some grants this year. We're given quite a bit of money from Snohomish County and Idaho County. And part of the ask was for money to build a new website. This is just an example. Part of that website would be a community calendar that has an app that connects it to other community calendars automatically. So it's just a small example of how the why now, because there's a whole bunch in motion.
Yeah. And CAA, I'm sorry, SCAC came out of CAA. CAA is in the middle of SCAC. The same way March, middle of Earth Day, it's all Saturday. The initiative from CAA was to have a committee at the very least that would bring these groups together. So bring all the artists together, figure out what's happening on what days and whatnot. So the art calendar has been an initiative from the get. It sounds like Amy's team is working on something. We've got a community calendar also on our website. Trying to keep people in track. So the creative economy is something that we've been talking a lot about in our organization, and previous about it too. But it's basically a shift from like the industrial, thinking of how cities function and work and what's needed to make these things happen. And then the growing power of ideas, making the creative economy something that is a little bit more ethereal, but also leads to things happening that would not necessarily be happening. So like public art is a perfect example. Public art, no, don't need anything to look nicer than that. Having this building look great, the Jack Archibald glass, having the gateway look nice when you drive by it, makes you want to go to those places, makes you excited when new things come, makes you want to have your place look nicer. When there's something that starts to look good in the town and then it sort of leads out into everybody improving a little bit.
you know, this city projects that we're having that are gonna be improving this Twin City mile. Making the brick road a little bit nicer, and maybe putting planting boxes. Those are not necessary things, the city functions, but I think we can all agree that when you start adding in those things, it's not for naught, you know, like it adds to the ecosystem for prosperity. More people are excited. And somebody yesterday, I walked out, I don't know if I told you, but they were going to the cafe, and she was like. And I was like getting into my car, I'm like, I'm fine, like, it's not a beautiful part of town, you know, and the city is aware, and we're all working on it, if the arts center there, it will improve, but. You don't want somebody to come even from, she said she was from Marysville, I want to be like, okay, no, but. Like, I don't want anybody to come to where I work, my car is sitting right there and not feel safe. I mean, some places feel like there's people working behind the corner of this there. So when we're talking about the creative economy, it is a combination of things. So it's not just a web developer, it's not just an artist, but it is the combination of partnerships with the public, private, and nonprofit. And they're shaping the social character, and especially of rural. You can think about the culture of cities in a very different way, but in our area specifically, which is rural, it does take all these things. And we can find those elements on this.
Well. Yeah,
Great. So dividing it into the three elements, and this is not something that I made up, which makes me sure. The creative workforce, the nonprofit sector, and the for-profit businesses. So the creative workforce would be what you would think of as tattoo artists or artists themselves. They are supporting the local economy because they need all of the resources to run their business. Like you're talking about, they're going to need a bank, they're going to need a CPA, they're probably going to need a lawyer, they're going to need, you know, an insurance broker. They're going to need all of the things that lead to a vibrant economy. You know, you can't have certain businesses in an area if there's no inspector who works for the city who can come and get your fire code, you know, approved. So the creative workforce in itself is employing and keeping this thing going for themselves. Most of them are self-employed. The nonprofit sector, which is what we are a part of, and I know some of you are also, they provide these opportunities and services. So if you want to go take a class, if you want to go see a show, those kinds of things, the nonprofit sector really helps move that process along. And then for-profit businesses that sell or exhibit creative products are sort of the third element of that. And there are a lot more things and businesses in that category than, you know, just galleries. So graphic designers, restaurants, bars, anybody that has shows, theaters, anybody that's offering sort of cultural experiences fit in there. Because one thing that can sound as though the creative economy is how much did you sell that painting for? And it's almost the opposite of that. Like the selling of the painting is what allows that artist to pay their CPA. And that's the more important piece in creating an economy in a town that's working. Right?
right.
Mike has a question to that.
Curious, how many members are CAA and how many members?
After COVID, we are down to 75 members currently, about 65 of them are actively participating. But we are beginning a journey to get more members. Absolutely.
What was it pre-COVID? Amy, do you know?
I was not here.
Okay.
I'm not positive.
So
Yeah.
down about 25.
Yeah. And what we are going to be doing is looking to engage younger generations in our NCAA. So that we can build for 105 years.
The membership is $55 a year, right? Somewhere around there. And I'm a member of CAA, I'm not an artist, I run an arts organization, so there's that. But it is open to any and all talents, interests, those kinds of things. So don't feel as though you have to be an artist or have to make money on your art to be part of that. And then SCAC is not a membership organization. There are no, early on, I was saying no dues, no benefits, which is not our tagline, but no dues, no requirements, there's no volunteer hours that are anything like that. We've got 400 people on our emailing list. So our information goes out to that many people. And there's probably a core group. I mean, I'm looking right at Susan, yesterday morning on our monthly call. So there's probably a core group of about 40 to 50 people that come to things, that are involved, that are in committees.
I'm gonna give you a tiny bit more background, so you know why I'm often blank faced up here. My background is as a jeweler, and I joined the board of CAA because they needed, from the lesbian membership, they needed new people. And I only became president because of the wax. So I, for the last 8 months, have been learning as fast as I can. I've only lived here for 2 years. But in my previous life, I owned a store in Seattle proper. I worked as an art center. I sold artifacts and local in Seattle, and I made jewelry. So therefore, I'm invited to have this conversation with Kat. And so she made one of the selection.
Good to that. So one of the aspects of also our conversation of deciding, how do we talk to business owners? How do we talk to people that have a broad skill set that are all, sort of brought together by this, community-driven chamber of commerce? I mean, we're all a member of this organization because in some ways we put a sticker on our door that says Chamber of Commerce and we're more trusted, right? So there's the inherent value in being a member of this chamber. So it links us all in that way. But so does just the community in general. And so when we talk about what we can do in the creative economy, it's not just about the physical things. So you can quantify a lot of the stuff that is vibrant. It's not an Edmond, which has, museums and galleries and restaurants, and it is a Washington State creative district we can talk about. It has a lot going on, very vibrant and very rare. But you don't go there because you know that when you get there, your money will go towards something that you go there because it feels good and it's fun. And when you're walking down the street, people are like engaged and excited and you want to try the new restaurant. And the reason the new restaurant wants to be in Edmonds is because they know that there are people that come there for, so it's kind of one of those. So when we were talking about how do we talk to the business owners about how this will help them, there's also the ethereal, non-quantifiable thing that makes places exciting and attractive that is not financial. It will help in the end where people will come and pay more money and your business will be better, which will be awesome. But it also is, more quotes, but the idea of feeling connected and energized. There's, having your kids engaged in art activities, creative activities, and having them, try something, fail, try something, have it work, gaining confidence in their own ideas. Maybe a piece of public art is provoking opinions and conversations, and maybe people are posting about on Facebook, and they're getting excited with each other. They're probably not a productive conversation, but at least it's doing something, right? So things are kind of moving, and you notice it when new things come. There's more conversation, like whether that's good or bad. It is at least something, a discourse. So the idea of arts and culture and so, why here, why now, elevating the quality of life for us too, knowing that, once a month you can go to an artist salon or you can stop by the Gateway if you're going to put your kids to a playground.
Well,
Question.
Oh,
Are you gonna have an open sign somewhere on the gateway? I drive by, I'm not sure it's pretty good, but presumably cases in it.
right. So the part where I can jump in and then I'll come back to your question, Mike, is that the only part where I feel very confident speaking right at this moment is that I see CAA as a means to show that art can be your livelihood. It's not just a hobby. That's how I feel. And so what's exciting for me is the more people who are engaged, the more mindful and things that you can do as you're living, not just art, things that are creative. When we applied for the lease for the Gateway Line, I've been part of CAA for a few months. And my intention was to have that turned into a way where people could be showing and selling their art year-round. And it would be a way for artists to make money, but also for themselves instead of relying on grants. And you, Mike is a member of the board of directors for the Creative Marketing Association that is our landlord. And we right now are the most active people in the conversation in the CAA about having that piece are on the studio tour. So we're like, oh my God, okay, I gotta get the building open, but I gotta make my work. And also we're trying to figure out how we're gonna pass through the summer. It's all just completely in process. I'm sorry that we haven't been open with regular hours, but it is our intention.
Yeah, I staffed it during the last quest. Just so you might be familiar with the festival, but and there were, I mean, hundreds of people. I mean, we were just wandering around and they're looking for things and we had a clue, so there was that kind of thing. But even just parents coming to the playground, where it's a really excellent location for an art centric gallery.
Well, part of our lease is to have one of the chamber's kiosk, informational kiosks in the building, so that it will be a fact of visitor center and also an art hub. We're just a couple months into it.
Signage is kind of in works. We have a new logo being developed right now, and so we're kind of waiting for that to be done and incorporate that into signage that says open. But it is open starting tomorrow, I believe, for our new show that's coming in there for the weekend. Is it Friday and Saturday or Friday through Sunday? No.
I don't think it's until the last weekend of the month.
Yeah.
But,
Oh, maybe Martin told me she'd be there tomorrow for the weekend.
that's fantastic. A lot box.
These awards that say, we're in 12 years. You know, blue and white ones, that means, at least they know their stuff on them.
Did you have a question?
Well, I don't have a question, but I have some input on a different point of view on why art
Right, sure.
right now, so. Kind of chime in with it.
For it.
So I've been at Tomato for 20 years and on the tour for that long. And really what it is to be on the tour and selling art in this community is that if you go into anybody's homes that have been purchasing artwork, local artwork, there's a whole other dimension that is enhancing like the interiors of people's home. Unique, a lot of people come on the tour and they collect like one piece. It could be large, small, depending on people's budgets. And so they have been building up these art collections of local artists, and it makes people's homes completely unique. And also of the area, and it keeps, so there's like all these different dimensions of that I see. That in terms of enhancing your sense of place in the community to have, this artwork in your home, and then when people come from out in the area, out of the area, they're looking at things that are, unique, that are made in the area, that keep the money in the area. There's so many levels of what that piece of artwork stands for in anybody's home. And there's a certain amount of pride that goes with the whole area of living here that is on that level.
Yeah, that's a great point for this building community piece, that it's not justifiable that when someone walks into your house and is like, Oh, I love that. Where did you buy it? Or, like at someone's home, at their studio, on the studio. It sort of brings these pieces together. Oh, and then you can start talking about the studio tour. And now you're telling people. I went to the studio tour for the first time last year, maybe embarrassingly. I've been in the area about 10 years and I didn't think that it was for me. I thought it was for artists. I thought it was if you were a collector, I didn't know that you could just go. And so we just did a sketch, did a community survey. And I think those kinds of things, understanding what the public thinks about the thing that you're doing, while, you know, some of the opinions should be kept to themselves. There's also the idea that like, wow, if someone doesn't think that this is for them and it is for them, how do we communicate that? So that's an aspect of the building community too, making sure that everybody understands this is for you. You can come to this, this is, you know, open and accessible.
Pride in the community.
Oh, yeah, let's move on to the kids. I want to talk about them. And then this is the building business. So we were really excited about this in terms of how you turn that community feeling into finance. So anything, any real estate agent will say that once you're done with the house tour, the family will want to go on a tour of the town and see where, how far are we from the grocery store? Where is the YMCA? What can my kids do here? What clubs can I join? What's available to me? I remember when we moved here, we did not have kids. I now have an 8-year-old. Then you go through that newborn phase where you don't leave and then you're looking for preschool. So even people that have lived here for 20 years have 5 different lives. They have the lives of as, you know, maybe single people, then married people, then young kids, then older kids. So they're looking for different things for their whole existence in an area. So realtors talking, just mentions it there, but you know, making sure that the attractive area turns into incentives. Yeah. Yes. Great. Here's your letter.
Say this one I know. Well, my original conversations with Jessica in the past, but I was really grateful to get those last year. I was thinking of in terms of Leavenworth. Do you know that they made up that Bavarian theme? I mean, it says so right on their website that as the railroad was redirected, their town for 30 years was on the brink of quickly going away. And so town leaders got together and said, well, of course, we prepared our series to the Bavarian College. Why don't we just keep that going and make the full experience? And they did. Has anyone not been to Leavenworth? So you know what I'm talking about. Well, they made that up, right? That cultural identity. We don't have to make anything up. We actually have quite a bit of identity here that I've been discovering. The part that I know more about is art. There's been art here for 100 years more. I mean, for probably thousands of years. So we don't have to reach very far to find some common ground with our culture. And I was just thinking about, Susan was talking about, I think you said pride. You know, we've got local art in your home. The more we know about our own community and what's happening in it, nice to come home and gives you a reason to tell people about where you live.
Yeah. And I think that there's art is more encompassing as an identity than like our Scandinavian heritage, because it was not Scandinavian for the entire existence of this land. So even as you're saying, you know, these artists started coming here 100 years ago, we have documentation that in 1910 there was an artist colony started here, but arts from the time immemorial have been furry, right? So it's an identity that, you know, Leavenworth has a date when they started being Leavenworth in the way that we know them now. We don't have a date when art was started here. It just has always been here. And when we think about things that draw people, that create identities, you know, the Scandinavian heritage works for people that are of Scandinavian heritage or like those kinds of things, or that are the history of you know, the railroad, things like that, but it does, our history goes further back. And then if you think about sort of the industries of areas, you know, west of the mountain, or east of the mountain, and what's big business here? And, you know, we're getting this new facility where Twin City Foods was, it's like, that's not going to be our time. Like, no matter what they're making here, if they were making children's toys, that might be something, but they're making meatless meat products. So it will bring in a lot of jobs, sure. And it will maybe create a little bit of buzz on that end of town before and after work, it'll probably create some traffic. But it's not gonna give us an identity.
But what if they paint the walls?
Yeah. Yes, so I would say they're active in the creative economy. If they become active in the community in that way, it's also for them a foothold in this town. It will be able to connect them with the community, the same way that it will help all of the people in here connect with the community. It's a lot harder to piece out the one thing that you have in common with somebody and decide that that's your connection. And as a business owner, to do that with all of your customers is very hard. But if you make it something broader, I'm gonna suggest yards. If you make it something broader, then everybody.
Can I share my idea on that?
Yes.
So that someone else can make it happen, but you can remember it was my idea. I think the side of Twin City Foods No Meat Factory should be the view. Like, how cool would it be if someone painted what the actual view is behind that building?
Yes, make
So
it
that
invisible,
it looks
like Wile E. Coyote.
kind of, but you can see, I mean, it's gorgeous, it's probably one of the most beautiful views right there at the Stanwood. So there you go, make it happen.
I
Make
think
it
you
happen.
should put it in a roof.
And a bar. But
Yes.
yes, I don't think there's a
That's fine. That's fine, yeah. It's gonna be one of the, they're meatless meat, so it's gonna be no booze.
Cows.
Yeah.
Same idea. They're Canadian, I'm not sure they're gonna like get our humor.
A little drier.
Mhm.
So yeah, so we wanted to say that that's something that's already happening here. It's not something that we need to stamp on our area. We're not gonna become, you know, the most Hawaii town is the Hawaii, like there's not gonna be a luau. It's not something that's not us coming here. It's something that has always existed, and is now coming more into the forefront as an identity. That's what it is.
We have the Kingsway building
Yeah.
at Freedom Park.
It's there.
Yes, Mike Lester.
You know, I got an idea for a sentence. You know, there's a flagpole there that's not being used. You could hoist a flag that says you're open, or it says something on it. As long as you want it to use flagpole.
Great idea.
Thank you very much.
Be an artist who design the flag.
Yeah,
Or could be the new look.
I'll write a great, get some money. One of the things also, make sure we pay artists. You know, don't borrow artists.
There we go. So the physical presence we talked about, we're working on the mobile art center. We are having a party on Friday night in Everett because it is under construction and being painted. Shogo Osa, who is local to Mano Island, and is a world-renowned muralist, designed and is currently painting. We've had some volunteers come and help out. So we did the beginning parts of it, outlining it, that kind of thing on Monday, and then now he simplified it, so it's a coloring book. It's kind of a paint by number thing now. But it's looking really good. It's very exciting. And the inside is a transformable space, there's the gallery, the workshop, studio. So that will be parked out in front of the furniture store, soon to be art center, starting on May 12th, the first day. And then construction on the building is contingent on design and permits, things like that. Just get this factoid out of the way. So because we are reclaiming some of the materials that are in the building and they're currently being stored in the building, if we take the building down and reclaim all that stuff, then we're going to store that elsewhere while we do the construction. So the closer we can get that gap in time, the better. Also, then it's not like we took it down 6 months later. one of those things, just kind of flow through. So if we can make it in time to get the demo beginning with construction done, in this good weather season, if it ever starts, then we will do that. If we miss this year, we will do it. My next door neighbors, so it's a fluid process and one that we're now thankfully able to talk about and say out loud. So that is our physical presence. But we offer classes and workshops, around town and constantly doing new and more things.
But our social media.
Mike has not.
Woo, I can do it.
You can pull up. a chair.
You're putting together a trailer.
Yes,
It's gonna be a workshop,
that's the mobile art center.
the mobile art. Is
Yeah.
that
Like,
collaboration of the two?
Yeah, that's a SCAC initiative.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have, yeah, projects there.
Yes, yes. So for example, our first off-site, so the idea is that it lives in front of the art center so that people know that it's an art center, but also it's a parking spot. So we'll have it there, and then it will go to other places. So our first event is the Pride event here on Camino. And because we don't want to just fill that with stuff we like and then say, hey, look at this. We have a couple of classes that are happening to create LGBTQIA art that will go in it that will then be displayed at that event. And so as we think about how we use the mobile art center in different spaces, we want to be really conscious of where we're going, what the interests might be in that space, because there are a lot of places to see local art. We want to make sure that we're also sending people to those places to see those kinds of art, doing activities within our place. So we're doing a summer classes for kids also, and that would be in the mobile art center. And whether we do that on site at the furniture store, or if we do it at the Heritage Park or Tampa Beach, or wherever, it'll have its own sort of calendar.
They're very generously having their opening date be the weekend, the first weekend of studio tour and operating as an information center for the tour. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first thing you see is, some of the bright decorated, not decorated, painted.
And for those of you who have not seen Shogo's art, you should look him up online. He
Show
is
SHOGOTA. We hired him to create new logo for CAA, and that will be ready and.
And he's he lives on Camino Island. He's really engaging with the community in a really positive way. He's doing the Pride poster, I believe. He's done work at Tio. He did a big mural. So he's worth checking out and coming on Friday. He'll be there Friday, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so going down. Okay. I have a slight crush on him too.
Oh, right.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is recorded. I'll delete that out.
The most important thing you said was during that. So you have
Two children were 1.5, but that's like,
Yeah.
they're very in our community.
Yeah. And he's done, work internationally, but also like he designed the latest, scarf for the soccer team in Seattle. I forget the name. The Sounders. He's done work for the Kraken, for the Seahawks, Starbucks, he does more corporate things. So we're lucky to have him with immense talent in our area. So then I titled it How to Gain Leverage. That made Amy nervous that I was saying leverage. But it was more about the idea that, as a business owner, like how do you increase what would be the easiest way to, get involved. It can be as simple as getting our newsletters. Our emailing list is open to all. I don't know if this is the members and non. Perfect. So you can do that. We will have monthly meetings. Ours is by Zoom. And then quarterly we meet in person. You meet.
We started listing ours as crowd partners, so we're gonna have it. I recommend it. We had 3 very well known artists last year. That was awesome. Great presentation for the Shogo, had that Barrett out of Seattle, and Jordan.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's just, for your, the first Wednesday of the month, at the Camino Center.
Yes. Yes, it's at 6 p.m. Gather, also share in the chat, and 6:30 p.m. We have a short amount of business that we will get about a half hour, and then hopefully after that, we come with the presentation.
And it's one of those things we were talking about, how when you live in an area, you might have different like phases of your life. So even just speaking about Shogo, like he's being more involved now because his kids are at an age where he can do those kinds of things. So if you're at a point in your life where you do have a couple hours free every month and are like, I wonder what's happening in this thing or that thing. You know, the YMCA is always looking for volunteers, CAA, SCAP, you know, there are ways that you can find out what's happening in these organizations and just to know it, but then also it may lead to more and other things. And then I had to say, helping things happen. It's one thing to know what's happening and another to help get it done. So we have committees, we're a committee structure, so committees that will do the work of things and report up to the board, you report structure also. So we're always looking for new people to join our committee, engagement, we have finance, we have programming. So just a variety of ways that if all you know how to do is design websites, if all you know how to do is take tickets at an event, if all you know how to do is, I don't know, babysit or teach kids art or whatever it is, I'm sure we could use your time and energy.
Yeah, in particular, we would love to know the terms of grant writing. It actually takes quite a bit of time to not throughout the year. Follow up. Words. Important. I was better at it. Yeah. Then we need help with the recording. Just help with everything. Really.
And I said it on Brandon's podcast, and I was lucky enough to be on, voice podcast that
I did much better on podcast.
I would, oh, yes, you were awesome. We did a great job.
So that is on the website.
Welcome to ma'am, welcome to Maine Honor podcast. But I said on, he has the voice podcast also that, like, I wish somebody had told me in my 20s that I had, because I didn't think I did. I was only spending 3 hours a day at the gym. I was only, going out 7 nights a week. I didn't think I had time to add anything. And I have less time now than I ever have. And donating a lot of that time to things that I'm interested in and exciting things in the community. And now I know people at the grocery store and I know a lot of people in this room, and it makes those experiences better. It feels a lot less like work when the people that you're meeting with and doing these things with are people that you know. Mm-hmm. Do you?
Come on up.
Thoughts, ideas?
I have a great question about, definitely want to be online about this idea of doing ugly pet portraits for people in the community. With either children doing them or something, and it's about your local art center, like how fun that would be for CASA and partners. Like,
Really fun.
yeah,
Really good
to
idea.
come into something like this, and it's just hilarious.
So do the kids draw the portraits
Yeah.
of the animal?
People can sit in the. And then like $25 goes to like CASA. And then the children get to do, work through that pet and give back to them, and it's usually. Oh, I love it. They go through this in the most artistic doing portraits.
Yeah, well, it's a whole thing. Being an actual artist and creating something that looks like the thing you're looking at is a whole,
Oh, yeah.
good job, Doc. Right?
Okay. So there's more opportunity for CASA. with
Yeah,
Pets and art that we haven't been doing.
it'd be fun. We will talk.
Great idea. I think there's a lot of people in our community that have these ideas. We need to create the avenue to get them to the right people. What kind of fun events do we want in our community? What kind of weird things do you want to go to that's in Portland or Seattle? We don't want to drive to any of those places on the weekend. We are far enough to move. How do we bring those here? How do we send all these people to that?
That was another part of what Love Forest did was, they also created a series of year-round series of festivals. And they have minimally 1 million visitors go through every year. So we can do that, but we don't have, again, we don't have to make it up. We don't know our-
That one.
Any questions? Or any thoughts about art? In the public spaces, kind of like what art over?
Yeah,
Like
so,
Sculptures, like.
Yeah.
visual stuff that other people will drive by.
yes, so SCAC has an MOU, which is a memorandum of understanding with the city of Stanwood for public art. So it means that, any sort of public art pieces that they're considering would go through SCAT first, or either right of first refusal, like, oh, this is what we want to do, or at least coaching and trying to figure out what works.
And when you say something you want to do, you have a roster of artists yet to draw from. Do you mean that, what do you mean when you say something you want to do?
So the banner project is an example of that. The city wanted to do banners. They said, have an artist design a banner. We want to hang it up all over. And SCAG said, okay, great. We convened, this was before my time, convened and said, well, what if we had multiple artists design multiple banners? And what if we paid them this amount and we did it seasonally in this process? What would that, he said, oh, we hadn't thought about that. Okay, great. And then once we had that process, there was a call for art that went out saying, submit your ideas for what could be on the banners, and then there was a selection jury process. Kind of thing. So one second, so then for like the Archway project, that they're doing right outside the Rite Aid now, or that. So they had that as a project. They came to us and said that they wanted to do, you know, art on the four sides of each pillar. Budget didn't allow for original art on there, so now we're working with them on probably a series of banners until the financing comes up. But we could have also said, no, we don't want to do a banner project. That's not what we do. You know, we'd rather do this. We don't want to get it. But
And that Archway is a local artist, I mean, that's her Westlake,
Yes,
right? That is
and
built-
that was not our involvement because that was the construction, right? And we weren't involved in that.
I have a couple things to say. One is so also being new here, unfortunately, I cannot speak to, I just have questions about what Stanwood and Island County have set aside for public art, because all I've heard about is a request for loans of art. Jack Archibald, I don't know, was that a donation? Yeah, so that's asking a lot of artists who are still trying to make a living. I mean, I assume he is, but that's super generous on Jack. So I'm coming from Seattle proper, where we have percent for art, I think that's Washington State, set aside from capital projects. I'd love to know what's available here for things like that. Nothing?
I'm guessing, but my guess is on Camino, there is no city of Camino, right?
Right.
This is where we would fall into the umbrella of unincorporated Island County. That there is no budget line item for that. It could potentially be something that could be applied for through the LTAC. So what do you think about the LTAC grant? It could be something, but an organization would have to apply into the LTAC grants. It would have to be led by someone, which SCAC or CAA could be one of them.
I don't know the LTAC money is for more. Because specifically.
Okay.
But there's some in facilities, right?
Well, we can get more into
Yeah.
that later. I was mostly wanting to answer Mike's question about sculpture and. So, I mean,
Yeah, so the Twin City Mile project that's going across, you know, that's gonna go from the Good State train station to City Hall. They have some sort of areas designated for plinths that they would have permanent areas where there would be public art there. The Art Center design also has sort of sculptural elements on the outside. You know, we have long, because we'll have to be raised 4 feet because of flood prevention, but sort of a long meandering path for accessibility. So we'll have some sculpture and things out there too. But the Coastal Community Bank is a great example. They built their new bank and said, we want something, a piece of sculpture outside. So they worked with Carla, and you can see it just on a sort of podium type thing, or swan or something. But they decided as a private business that this was important to them. And we're able to do it.
also Rick Wesley and his partner, Delos Mouche, are building a new sculpture park on Yountview Road. So if you go to the Elder Bay grocery store, take a right, go down the hill, you'll see that there's a new clearing there, and over the next year, there will be new large sculptures. So really, about sculpture, this would be part of the why now, is that we do need some more cohesion about how public art is happening here.
The Mark Clark Bridge. You know, it's got the 4 pieces of sculpture on it. I think it's a great addition.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's part of the quality of life piece that we talked about too, right? Like, you don't need those sculptures on there to do nothing but enhance your quality of life, right? Which is the thing.
Tracy,
I think it's culture like that, when it came from Snohomish County and capital improvement project, no, it was the highway department.
Right, but in the managers opened it up to the margin for the, those are Debbie roads.
Yeah, I know. I used to be the president of the Lake Stevens Arts Commission before I moved here, and we commissioned the piece from her in Lake Stevens. But that money generally comes from, it's a 10% reserve for the construction project that comes from the county. And then whoever, has the jurisdiction that gets decided what they want.
Yeah,
So my understanding is the improvement here being planned for the streetscape and whatnot in the city of San Diego, that's public money. So this art center is going to be in the old furniture store, is that private then?
Yes,
Or
it's
public?
private.
That's private.
Yes, so it's not using public resources. In so far as we are applying for the Building for the Arts grant, it's on a 2-year cycle, so we will apply in 2024. And that's a reimbursement grant, so we have to spend the money, build things, and they pay us back to expenses. And that's done through the Department of Commerce, I think. So it's a government thing. We are currently, our request for $2.7 million is in Senate appropriations right now. We made it through, Senator Maria Campbell. So we applied for that funding. There are 15 projects selected for Washington State to further move on. So we could get government money, right? So if you think about it that way, like we all pay taxes, where does that money go? And then yes, it's government, right?
I'm curious about the construction of the building and surrounding.
We have to raise that. Yeah, we have to raise that.
There is some money, okay.
Yeah.
Because it usually who builds then it can be highly determined by where the money.
Yes,
So,
we are choosing to build.
sorry,
We are choosing to build.
okay.
Any other questions? Yeah.
Well, I just was wondering how many banners there were in Stanwood altogether, and how many were,
So we printed. There were 15 banners per season. They printed 2 copies of each, so there should be 60 total, but 30 of any given time. There's the spring, summer, and fall. So my understanding is that the 30 are up now. And then 30 when we just.
Any other questions? My challenge to all of you that have retail or storefront or anyone who just has a home, obviously. But especially retail or stores to have local art. I mean, it's just like here, it's not yours, Susan, right? Catherine? Yeah, I mean, to be able to have local art inside our local businesses as opposed to something that's just printed off the internet or bought at IKEA, right? Just, that is an easy thing you can do. It's just buy a local piece of art, start with one, right? And then maybe build. And the Camino Center has a ton of local art in there. But, you know, just a challenge to all of you to make sure you have at least one piece in your home or your
or on your body.
business or on so thank you. Thank you. We're almost done. I had a quick announcement about a chamber event. We are doing a spring shop local, win local event. We are starting it on May 12th. Anyone want to know why May 12th? And so we're making it really easy for businesses. All we're asking for is a donation that we can use for prizes. It goes through the end of May. We're trying a passport system this time. In the fall, we did a big thing. I think it was summer. Trying passport. So for every $20 someone spends in your store, they get a stamp on their passport. A full passport is 10 squares, so that's $200 spent locally. And then they'll hand in the passport at the end of the month, and then we'll give away some prizes. So for anybody who has a retail business, if you want to participate, it doesn't have to pay first. And all we ask for again is just a prize donation. I am opening it up to artists because the studio tour is going on, as well as the Mother's Day art tour at Ontario Corner. So if artists want to participate, and if Susan's doing it, they're welcome to just do it on those weekends. That's fine. And if you want to donate a prize, we're open for that as well. So we have 21 or 22 businesses signed up already, which I feel like means people are liking this. So let me know if you have questions about that event. Our next chamber meeting will be at Christopherson Farm. And we're gonna talk about some different things we're doing with travel, transformational travel. So this is an interesting experience for us when we're talking about events and festivals. I don't think we have any problem bringing people here on bus, right? We purposely have Blast Fest in February. So transformational travel is about how do we encourage people to come visit our area and be responsible while they're here, not just take, how can they actually give back to our community? And that will be at Christopherson Farm. So, and that is pretty much, and then we move to mixers. So starting in June and July, we have mixers about 5 o'clock, if they're weekend for just networking. That's the chamber schedule. Any questions for me? Does anyone have any events or announcements they want to make about their own business?
Anybody who has a pet, not microchip, Saturday is our free microchip clinic. Please come by, or if you know anybody that has a pet, please get microchip, and something for that free, you know, when it's necessary. And then on May 12th as well, we will have our spring market, which is going to be your bake sale, but also handmade items that are pet themed. So we have some great first on we needed some great items. You don't think you have a pet, so my, it's gonna be next door. The safety building, we used to call it.
Any other events or announcements anyone wants to make? Your Crab Dash is coming out Bonnie, right? Do Crab Dash. Yes.
Yeah, well, we do currently have the best of stand with Camino going on right now. And that's through the newspaper. And we also have the Explore Channel with Camino magazine will be coming out shortly. So that's in the works right now. So if you want in those, contact me. But
And you brought a door prize. Thank you very much. And gave us the bag because I didn't bring anything to it. So we will, yeah, you brought a door prize. All right, well, it's great to see everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you again, Tammy. I'm gonna steal the extra cookies. Yeah.